Good afternoon. Welcome to Speaking in Your Basement. I want to talk a little bit about something NLP referred to as locus of control. The idea you could think you have the notion, and possibly deep in your subconscious, of where the control is, right? Or is life controlling you, or are you controlling life? And the term control is probably a little bit too strong of a term. Where's the biggest influence? Is the biggest influence in life your surroundings or how you grew up, your genetics? Or is the biggest influence in life in you, within the choices you make? I thought of this today, thinking about the podcast I'm delivering to you right now. And I got to tell you, it's bare bones. As you can probably see, it's very bare bones. I'm sitting here on a couch in my basement with my phone propped up on my knees, recording with my phone. I see so much cool podcast gear out there. Fancy cameras, all these interesting different setups, fancy microphones, one of them fancy Yeti microphones. Lots of cool stuff in podcast setups. And what I love is like when they have multiple cameras and then they can kind of cut back and forth from different cameras. And I think they have software that'll do that automatically. So you got this one angle when I'm talking directly at you. And then you got the other one where it's this side and I'm expressing the idea to someone else. And it's like you're a fly on the wall witnessing the conversation. And then they cut back and forth between those. That looks really cool. But what's more important? I get all the podcast gear. I get the fancy microphone, I get professional script writers, that I have staff on hand, or that I just get on camera and give you the information. Share the information I want to share. I think the second, and that's what I'm doing. And who knows, I'm not saying I can't fall into the technology trap. If I ever get some money going into this someday, who knows how sophisticated the setup will be, who knows how silly I'll get. Hopefully, I'll stick with consistently cranking out good content. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. But my point is, there's tons of products out there, tons of products and services. I in no way want to vilify the products. Some of them are very good. Probably not most of them, but some of them are very good. This is about everything. Weight loss, make money, speak better, whatever else it is. Anything starting from just, a few bucks, 10 or 20 bucks for a book, all the way up to like maybe 100 or so for some variety of home study course or audio program, up to thousands, depending on the market, depending on the buyers. You can buy information products and other things from anywhere from a few bucks all the way up to thousands. And depending on what you argue an information product is, it could be tens of thousands potentially. But does that product matter? I think the products can help. If you've got a good product, the product can absolutely help. I've had products that have helped me quite a bit. But not initially, not from just purchasing the product. And here's the interesting thing. The magic isn't in the product. It's never been in the product. There's good ones and bad ones, but the magic is in you. The whole core of the thing is in you. If you're looking, I used to do fat loss products all the time. I finally actually lost a little weight and kept it off. But I used to look at fat loss exercise programs, fat loss diets, and sometimes combination programs, a variety of different things. Over decades, about 2 decades, 22 years roughly, I was looking into this, and like every so often I might lose a little weight and then I'd gradually start putting it back on and it'd be back to whatever the next product was. And I had a hope that if I invested money into the product, I'd feel compelled, because of the money on the line, I'd feel compelled to follow through on it. I think some people get that. And if you're a person that doesn't buy programs often, you might get that. If you're like me and you're kind of an info junkie, you buy lots of programs, you buy lots of books, it's unlikely, no matter how much money you've spent, that you're going to super commit to a program. Again, if you've never done it before, it's worth a shot. If you have, then know that that's probably not where the magic is. What I'd suggest is you get started. And hopefully one of these days, God willing, I'll have a book or a program or something to sell you. I'm a very lazy business owner. I don't have anything to sell you yet. We're getting there, but not yet. But before you buy any other books on it, there's good books on speaking out there. There's good programs on speaking out there. Before you bother buying any of that, why not start practicing daily? I mean, you can get in a few times a week and stay consistent with that. That'll work too. But why not daily? Why not take 5 minutes a day? and just do this thing that you really want to do, that you really want to get better at, 5 minutes a day. Just 5 minutes a day. If you can't do that, then having the product is probably not going to help you do that. It'll have lots of things. It'll always, there's always something you can play with the product. And if you get it to where it's consistent, that might be good enough. But if you can't be consistent with 5 minutes of practicing speaking a day, then you really think the product's going to help that much? I'd say the same thing about exercise and diet. If you can't make adjustments to your diet, I mean, we probably all know things we could eat less of or do a little better with on our eating. We certainly all know some ways, at least, we could do better with working out, particularly if you don't work out or you work out like once a week. Would 5 minutes of walking a day help? It helps almost everybody, unless you're already, walking an hour or so a day. But it just start with the 5 minutes. If you can do 5 minutes of walking a day for a month, that's a good start on a habit. And at that point, you can probably start bumping it up. You could probably try for the second month, 10 minutes of walking a day, or maybe 5 minutes of walking and a quick set of calisthenics of something or another. Whatever direction you want to go with your exercise, you can do it at that point. When you got that first step in, that first critical step of let me get consistent with something. Let me take what I want to do seriously. Seriously in all senses. Seriously in that I do want the outcome and I am willing to put in the work for it, but also serious in the sense that you're a human being. We don't tend to change dramatically quickly. So if you try to go from 0 to an hour-long workout every day, forget about what that's going to do to your physical body. That's likely to burn you out in very quick order. And when you fall off of it, you are almost guaranteed to fall off of it. You're probably not going to get back on. You're probably not going to try anything for a while. If you just take the 5 minutes and you get consistent with the 5 minutes, now you know you can change. You may not know on this side of it how big of a change that's going to be for you. So you got to go through the process to get the understanding, to be able to see the world in a different way, to see the world through the eyes of someone who has successfully disciplined themselves, even if only in one area. And it's extra cool because most of the discipline we impose tends to be through things other people want. We need to keep showing up for work, so they'll keep paying us. So, there's the potential of getting in trouble with somebody else, something external, if we don't show up to work on time, right? You promised to take somebody out to dinner. You promised you'd be at a certain meeting at a certain time. There's always the social fear of what are other people going to think, or what if I lose my job? What if I get in trouble? Putting all that, it's not that that's not useful. I probably wouldn't have ever kept a job if I didn't have some of that. But when it comes to starting to create the life you want to live, and you just figure out how to put in 5 minutes towards something that's important to you every day, and you do that for a month, you are a completely different person at the end of 30 days. You may not realize it, just how completely true that is, because you've changed gradually over the time. But think back, think about it. Think about you with this 5 minutes a day consistent habit over 30 days. There's a momentum you have now. There's realizations about yourself that you might not have had before. You might start to see new things that are possible for you. Or you could try to do the epic version and do an hour a day. And again, almost, like 99% failure at least in that. Because you didn't work your way into it. And that's really not taking it seriously. Some people think like, oh, if you're not doing an hour a day, you're not taking it seriously. If you try to start with an hour a day, you're definitely not taking it seriously. You're just giving yourself an excuse for failing ahead of time. What's it going to change if this is going to really be the big diet or the communication program or the whatever else it is? What's going to change if you take a few months to build up to it? Not much, except you'll actually have solid groundwork laid for the habits you'll be building in whatever program it is. You will have looked yourself in the eye as the person who has already put some discipline in their life, and you'll now have respect for the effort that's required for that. Because that 5 minutes a day, it sounds easy on the front end of it, but to be consistent with it every day, it gets challenging. There's going to be times where you don't want to do it. There's going to be times where you forgot to do it, and it's late at night, and you just go, I'll do it tomorrow. No, don't do it tomorrow. Don't do 10 minutes tomorrow. Don't do that. Do your 5 minutes right now. Or you feel tired and crappy? Good. Get out there and do it in spite of that. Because when you overcome that tired, crappy feeling, and just get your 5 silly minutes of walking or speaking or whatever it is in, you're going to feel like a champion. I want you to experience that because there's nothing like it. I want you to experience what it feels like to face some adversity, even if it's small, to feel like, just screw it, but no, you do it anyway. And to be on the other side of that. Now you can go to sleep knowing in some small way you won today. And guess what? You get a few of those tough days under your belt where it's, comes up, it's not a big deal anymore. If you miss it and it's the end of the day, you're like, well, I'm doing it. We know that. And you get out and you do it. But more and more often, it doesn't, find its way to the end of the day. It finds its way earlier and earlier in the day. So you know you're doing it. You might as well go ahead and get it done. Taking training seriously, step by step, is part of taking it seriously. If you're serious about getting better in something, start slow. Start slow but consistent. And then keep going and keep going and build it up however big you want it to be. But build that foundation like you want this house to stand for the rest of your life. Because if you do it that way, it will. These habits that you build this way will be there for you for the rest of your life. You don't need a new book to create these habits. Once you got the habits in place, the books might help you with your technique or whatever else you want to work on. But you don't need any of the other things out there. You don't need any of the programs. You just need to get that basic element in place, that basic piece of discipline, that basic piece of a conversation with yourself. Is this worth it to me? And if it is, am I willing to stick with it? And part of the way you prove it's worth it to you is you stick with it. Get on the other side of that. Get your 30 days in, then get your 90 days in, then get your year in, and then see where you want to go from there. I'm Ben Langley. Thanks very much for spending some time with me today. We'll talk again soon.